The galaxy had long whispered about Earth. Some said it was a forgotten world, hidden in the farthest reaches of space, a place too insignificant to even glance at. The stories told of a once proud planet that had long since faded from its former glory, its warriors now mere myths. Over the centuries, the Krithar Empire, an alliance of the most powerful alien races, had risen to dominate the stars, conquering world after world in their relentless quest for power. The Krithar were a fierce, cunning people who had learned to bend entire planets to their will, and as their empire grew, so did their confidence. Earth, they believed, was an unremarkable blue dot, a place whose technology was outdated, and its people nothing more than peaceful dreamers who had long since abandoned the idea of war. When the Krithar made their decision to invade Earth, they did so with a sense of superiority, certain that no resistance could possibly emerge from such a feeble world. Their scouts had found nothing of interest there, nothing worth fearing. Earth's cities were like ancient ruins, untouched by the alien threats that had come and gone across the galaxy. The Krithar didn't even bother to send their most advanced fleet. They felt no need. Instead, they sent a single massive ship, a battleship so enormous that it cast a shadow over Earth as it approached. The Krithar were confident that this one ship could obliterate any force Earth could muster in a single strike. The invasion began quietly, with the arrival of the ship, silent, cold, and unyielding as it hovered above Earth's largest cities. The first sign of trouble came when the Krithar descended from the sky, dropping to the Earth like a storm of destruction. Their technology was far beyond anything humanity had ever seen, and their ships cut through Earth's defenses like a knife through paper. No one had anticipated the attack, not even the leaders of the nations who should have been on alert. Earth's military had long since been reduced to a shadow of its former strength. Most of the world's armies were now scattered, disorganized, and ill-prepared for any kind of major conflict, let alone a full-scale invasion. When the Krithar arrived, Earth was caught completely off guard. The first assault was brutal. Cities fell like dominoes, their towering structures crumbling under the weight of the alien weapons. People screamed in panic as the invaders tore through their defenses, advancing with chilling precision. There was no time to react, no chance for escape. It seemed as if the Krithar were invincible, and with each passing hour, the situation grew worse. News spread quickly that Earth had no chance against such an overwhelming force. Governments crumbled, communication lines were severed, and chaos began to spread. The Krithar's presence was undeniable, and their superiority was clear. All across the globe, people looked up at the skies, filled with terror, knowing there was nothing they could do. In the midst of this destruction, most believed that Earth's fate was sealed. The planet was too far behind technologically, and its people were too unprepared to fight back. For the first time in centuries, Earth was no longer the center of any universe. It had become a mere footnote in the ongoing rise of the Krithar Empire. As the invasion swept through the world, the Krithar believed they were on the verge of eradicating any resistance. After all, who could challenge them? The stories of Earth's warriors, if anyone even remembered them, seemed like nothing, more than fairy tales. But what the Krithar didn't know, what they couldn't possibly have understood, was that there was more to Earth than they had imagined. Deep beneath the surface of the planet, hidden away in places no invader would think to look, something was stirring. For years, Earth's greatest minds and most seasoned soldiers had been preparing for a war that no one had ever expected. They had known that one day the stars would turn against them, that an enemy would come. And so, quietly and without fanfare, they had been working in secret, training, building, waiting. The Krithar had no idea that beneath the ground, in vast, underground bunkers and forgotten laboratories, Earth's warriors had been silently perfecting their craft. These warriors were not like the soldiers the Krithar had encountered in their other conquests. These men and women were enhanced, genetically modified to be stronger, faster, and more lethal than any of the Krithar had ever faced. They were trained in every form of combat imaginable, from hand-to-hand to advanced weaponry. But what made them truly dangerous wasn't just their physical strength or training, it was their will, their determination to protect their home, to fight for a planet that had been written off as weak. They had been waiting for this moment, knowing that, when the time came, they would rise up. For most of the world, the Krithar invasion seemed like the end. But in the dark corners of Earth's most secretive facilities, a different kind of preparation was underway. Hidden away in the most secure locations were powerful warships, designed not for peace, but for this very conflict. They were unlike anything the Krithar had ever seen. Their sleek black designs were capable of moving through space at speeds no one had thought possible. These ships carried not just weapons, but warriors, human soldiers who had been waiting for the call to arms. As the Krithar continued their relentless assault on Earth, they believed there was no resistance left, no hope for the planet. They had crushed everything in their path, and soon Earth would fall into their grasp. But in their arrogance, they had overlooked one crucial thing: Earth's warriors, waiting in the shadows, ready to strike when the time was right. The Krithar had believed that no one would arrive. They were wrong. The first signs of Earth's response came in the form of a faint, flickering light in the sky. At first it was small, barely noticeable, but it grew larger with each passing moment. The Krithar thought it was nothing, just a glitch, or perhaps an anomaly. But as the lights in the sky grew brighter and more numerous, it became clear that something was happening. Earth's warriors were coming. And they weren't coming to surrender. They were coming to fight. Beneath the surface of Earth, in secretive bunkers hidden deep underground, a quiet preparation had been taking place for years. The world above was filled with chaos, with the people of Earth unaware of the quiet storm brewing beneath their feet. While the Krithar Empire thought the planet was defenseless, unprepared for an invasion, the hidden truth lay far below. Earth's military might had been reduced to a faint memory in the minds of the public. But within these subterranean fortresses, humanity's greatest minds and its most dedicated warriors were at work, preparing for the inevitable day when the stars would turn against them. They had known for some time that Earth would be vulnerable to attack, and when that day came, it would not be like any war the galaxy had ever seen. They had prepared not just with weapons, but with advanced technology, genetic modifications, and sheer willpower. For years, the soldiers working in these hidden locations had been honing their skills, not in the comfort of cities or on the battlefields that had long since disappeared from Earth's history, but in dark, cold chambers where technology from a forgotten era hummed quietly in the background. Earth's warriors were not the soldiers the Krithar had expected to face. They were not. The armies of ancient Earth history, armed with crude weapons and outdated armor. These warriors had been genetically enhanced, modified to be stronger, faster, and more agile than any of the invaders. Their training had gone beyond traditional warfare. They had learned everything from hand-to-hand combat, the ancient arts, of stealth and assassination, to high-tech warfare, mastering weapons the Krithar had no knowledge of. These soldiers were Earth's last hope, and they knew their mission was one of unimaginable importance. The Krithar had dismissed Earth as nothing more than a planet of passive people, weak and unprepared for the kind of warfare they had mastered. But this assumption had been their greatest mistake. The warriors who now hid beneath the surface of Earth knew better. They had not only been trained for physical battles, but had studied the strategies of the greatest military minds across history. They had been prepared to outthink and outfight any enemy, no matter how advanced or seemingly invincible. These soldiers had been forgotten by the world above, their existence buried beneath layers of secrecy and political red tape. But now, they were Earth's last line of defense, the very force that would rise up when the planet was on the brink of destruction. In Nai, one of the deepest bunkers, soldiers gathered around a large holographic map, their faces illuminated by the flickering lights of the display. The invasion was already underway, and the first reports from Earth's surface painted a grim picture. Cities were falling, and the Krythar's advanced fleet was destroying everything in their path. But as the warriors listened to the updates, they did not falter. They had been waiting for this moment, and despite the odds, despite the overwhelming strength of the invaders, they knew what needed to be done. They had trained for years to fight against such a foe, to make their stand when everything seemed lost. Earth's enemies believed they had already won, but what they didn't know was that Earth had been preparing for war long before the invasion began. The warriors knew the Krythar's strategy. They knew that the alien forces would be focused on overwhelming Earth's defenses and dismantling its military. But they also understood that once the Krythar struck, they would not expect a counterattack. The Krythar would believe Earth to be broken, its people scattered and helpless. But Earth's warriors had been operating in the shadows, waiting for the moment to strike. They had not only prepared for physical combat, but also for psychological warfare. They would hit the Krythar where they least expected it, targeting their weaknesses, striking with precision, and leaving no room for mercy. On the surface, the people of Earth had no idea what was happening beneath them. The cities burned, and the chaos spread, but the soldiers working in the underground bunkers knew that their time was coming. They were ready. They had mastered the technology that would allow them to fight back against the Krythar's overwhelming firepower. They had ships, stealth technology, and weapons that had been designed specifically to outmaneuver and defeat the alien invaders. But it was not just the technology that made these warriors formidable. It was their unwavering dedication to Earth. They had spent years training, living in isolation, knowing that one day they would need to defend their home. That day had arrived. As the Krythar continued their relentless assault, the warriors made their final preparations. They activated their ships, sleek and deadly, each designed to be fast and agile, able to slip past the Krythar's radar and launch sudden strikes. The warriors boarded these vessels, their hearts steady, their minds focused. These ships, though small compared to the massive Krythar battleships, were equipped with weapons powerful enough to challenge the invaders. The ship's advanced propulsion systems allowed them to move faster than the Krythar could track, and their stealth capabilities made them nearly invisible. The Krythar might have had the numbers, but Earth's warriors had the element of surprise. With a silent command, the warriors launched from their hidden bases, rising into the atmosphere and making their way to the cities under attack. They were not just soldiers. They were Earth's last hope, the ones who would take back the planet one battle at a time. As they soared toward the surface, they knew they had no choice but to win. The Krythar might have thought that Earth was a lost cause, but they were about to learn just how wrong they were. The warriors descended onto Earth's surface, their ships dropping through the sky like shadows, arriving with lightning speed. In the chaos of the Krythar invasion, the first sight of Earth's response came as a shock. The Krythar had expected to face no resistance, but as the ships touched down, Earth's warriors appeared, stepping from their vessels with precision and power. They did not hesitate. They immediately engaged the Krythar forces, striking with a fury that none of the invaders had anticipated. The Krythar were taken by surprise, their arrogance clouding their judgment. They had believed Earth to be a broken world, ripe for conquest. Instead, they were confronted with warriors who fought with the strength of a planet's history, a history that the Krythar had underestimated. The Krythar had expected to crush Earth without resistance. Instead, they found themselves facing an enemy unlike any they had ever encountered. Earth's warriors had risen from the shadows, and they were ready to defend their home with everything they had. And so, the battle for Earth began, not with the sounds of desperation, but with the roar of determination and defiance. The warriors had been waiting for this moment, and now it was their time to fight back. The war had begun in earnest. The skies, once calm and peaceful, were now filled with the roar of battle. Earth's warriors, rising from the shadows where they had trained for years, struck the invading Krithar forces with a fury that none of the alien conquerors had expected. The Krithar had anticipated an easy victory, their arrogance leading them to believe Earth was nothing more than an insignificant speck in the vastness of space, a world ripe for the taking. But as the warriors descended from their ships, they quickly realized the truth. They had underestimated their enemy. The warriors who had remained hidden for so long were now stepping into the light, ready to defend their home. The Krithar, for all their advanced technology and vast fleets, were not prepared for the tenacity and precision of Earth's soldiers. These warriors had not just trained in combat, but had mastered the art of striking swiftly and efficiently, catching the invaders off guard. The Krithar, with their overwhelming numbers and advanced weapons, were skilled in conventional warfare. However, Earth's warriors fought with a different kind of resolve, honed over years of secret preparation. They were quick, adaptable, and relentless. Each strike, each battle, was not just an attempt to push back the invaders. It was an act of defiance, a declaration that Earth would not be so easily conquered. The first wave of Earth's warriors descended upon the invading forces with lightning speed, their ships darting through the air like shadows, launching precise, calculated strikes against the Krithar's towering war machines. These ships were equipped with advanced weaponry, far beyond anything the Krithar had encountered before. The Krithar expected to see outdated, inferior technology, but what they saw instead were weapons capable of disabling their most advanced systems, weapons that struck with deadly accuracy. It was the beginning of a new kind of war, one in which Earth's warriors would not just fight to survive, they would fight to reclaim what was theirs. Ground forces clashed with the invaders in the cities, where the battle raged in the streets. Earth's warriors fought with unmatched courage and skill, striking from the shadows, outmaneuvering the larger, more cumbersome Krithar forces. The Krithar, confident in their overwhelming strength, had not expected Earth's soldiers to fight like this. They had assumed that Earth's military was weak, scattered, and disorganized. Instead, they faced a unified force, a well-coordinated strike team that knew how to exploit every weakness in their invaders' armor. The Krithar's weapons, while powerful, were not designed for this kind of urban warfare. They had expected open fields of battle, not narrow streets and hidden alleyways. But the warriors of Earth had made the city their battlefield, using every corner, every building, every shadow to their advantage. The Krithar responded with fury, calling in reinforcements from their massive fleet, but Earth's warriors were already prepared. Their tactics were unconventional, using hit-and-run methods, ambushes, and traps. The invading forces, unable to track or anticipate the movements of their enemies, began to falter. Each encounter with Earth's soldiers proved to be a costly mistake for the Krithar. Their superior numbers began to dwindle as the warriors of Earth struck with precision and strategy. For every Krithar that fell, another took their place, but the human forces were relentless. They did not tire. They did not stop. They fought with the knowledge that if they failed, the entire planet would be lost. The Krithar's commanders, perplexed by the unexpected resistance, called for more drastic measures. They unleashed their full power, sending in their most advanced war machines and calling in airstrikes that shattered the Earth's surface. Buildings collapsed, craters formed, and entire districts were leveled in moments. The Krithar believed that their overwhelming firepower would crush the Earth's resistance once and for all. But even as the bombs rained down from above and the ground trembled beneath the weight of the enemy's forces, Earth's warriors did not retreat. They fought on, determined to hold their ground. The city streets, now littered with debris, became the battleground where Earth's survival would be decided. In the midst of the chaos, a new kind of unity began to form among Earth's people. The warriors, once hidden in secrecy, were no longer the only fighters. Civilians, those who had once believed their world was doomed, now took up arms alongside the soldiers. They fought not just for survival, but for their families, their homes, and their future. The Krethar, so accustomed to conquering worlds with ease, were now facing an enemy they could not predict. Earth's people, from all walks of life, had come together, their fear replaced with a fierce resolve. They knew that the war was far from over, but they also knew that as long as they stood together, they had a chance. The Krethar, realizing that their initial assault was no longer working, began to change tactics. They started using their advanced technology to try to predict the movements of Earth's warriors, deploying more advanced weapons and machines to counter the growing resistance. But Earth's warriors adapted just as quickly, using their knowledge of the terrain and their superior training to stay one step ahead. The battle raged on, a brutal exchange of firepower and strategy, with neither side willing to give an inch. As the fighting continued, the Krethar found themselves stretched thin, their forces spread across the globe, trying to maintain control of the cities they had once easily overrun. What they hadn't counted on was Earth's ability to fight back on every front, in every corner of the planet. The once mighty invaders, confident in their strength, were now starting to question their position. They had underestimated Earth's will to survive, its ability to fight not just for its land, but for its very existence. With each passing hour, the Krethar realized that they had made a grave mistake, and in the midst of all this chaos, a new hope emerged. Earth's warriors, despite the destruction around them, had begun to push back the Krethar. Slowly, but surely, they were reclaiming ground, city by city. The tide of the battle had shifted, and the invaders, once so confident in their victory, were now finding themselves on the defensive. Earth was not the easy target they had believed it to be. Earth's warriors had shown the galaxy one undeniable truth: that no matter the odds, no matter the strength of the enemy, Earth would never surrender. As the battle raged on across Earth, the Krethar Empire slowly began to feel the pressure. Their forces, once so confident in their superiority, were now stretched thin, fighting on multiple fronts, dealing with tactics they had never encountered. Earth's warriors, relentless in their pursuit of victory, pushed back harder with each passing day. What had once been a full-scale invasion seemed now like a desperate scramble for control as the Krethar faced the unyielding spirit of humanity. With every city reclaimed, with every inch of land retaken, Earth's people and their warriors proved that they were not the weaklings the Krethar had believed them to be. The planet was no longer a mere target. It had become a battlefield where the very soul of humanity was at stake. The Krethar's initial strategy had been to overwhelm Earth with sheer force, to break the planet's will to fight before its people even had a chance to respond. But Earth had proven to be far more resilient than they had anticipated. The warriors who had risen from the shadows fought with an intensity that the alien invaders had not expected. They had underestimated humanity's ability to adapt, to rise in the face of adversity. And now, with each passing day, the tide of the war shifted further in Earth's favor. The Krethar, once confident they could easily crush Earth's defenses, now found themselves on the back foot, desperately trying to regain control of the cities they had once so easily overtaken. The Krethar were known for their vast fleets and superior technology, but they had never encountered a planet so determined to protect itself. The human warriors, armed with both advanced technology and centuries of tactical knowledge, struck with precision, forcing the invaders to rethink their approach. Earth's warriors had not only outsmarted the Krethar, they had shown them the power of unity, of standing together to fight for survival. As the battle continued, Earth's warriors adapted and evolved. They had been trained to fight on every level, from hand-to-hand combat to the most advanced technological warfare. They had fought in the shadows for so long, but now they were no longer hiding. They had become a force that the Krethar had to reckon with. The once invisible warriors, operating from the hidden depths of underground bunkers, were now in full force, battling across the surface. Each strike, each move, was deliberate and calculated, their skills honed to perfection. The warriors were not just defending, they were pushing the invaders back, systematically taking control of Earth, one battle at a time. The Krithar's commanders, unable to believe the turn of events, began to panic. They had underestimated Earth's warriors, and now they faced the reality that their invasion was failing. The alien fleet, once a symbol of overwhelming power, began to suffer losses. The advanced warships that had been launched to strike down the resistance were outmaneuvered by the speed and precision of Earth's ships, which had been designed specifically to counter the Krithar's superior technology. The warriors who piloted these ships fought with a skill that the Krithar could not match. Their vessels moved like shadows, slipping past enemy defenses and striking from unexpected angles. The Krithar's response was slow, their once unbeatable warships now vulnerable to the attacks of the Earth fighters. What had once been an unstoppable force was now beginning to crumble, and the Krithar knew they had no choice but to call for reinforcements. But reinforcements were slow to arrive. The Krithar had never expected Earth to resist so fiercely, and their supply lines were strained. The vast distances between their empire's homeworld and Earth left them vulnerable. The battles they fought on Earth had drained their resources, and every attempt to reinforce their position was met with more resistance from Earth's warriors. The Krithar could no longer rely on the swift victories they had enjoyed in the beginning of their invasion. Every day, the pressure mounted, and every day, Earth's warriors grew bolder, more daring in their strikes. The Krithar's fleet, which had once seemed so large and invincible, now appeared fragmented and disorganized. The once mighty ships, battered and broken, struggled to maintain their grip on the planet. The people of Earth, once terrified and on the brink of surrender, now fought back with all the strength and will they had left. The Krithar had thought that Earth would fall, without resistance, but now they saw that the planet would not go down without a fight. The human spirit, fueled by love for their home and the desire to protect their future, became an unstoppable force. The invaders could not break them. In the heart of the battle, a final, decisive confrontation unfolded. The Krithar sent their most powerful warship, the Valkor, to Earth, a vessel so massive and deadly that it had been designed to crush entire fleets in a single blow. It was their last hope, their final card to play in the face of mounting defeat. But Earth's warriors, prepared for this moment, had been waiting. They knew that the Valkor would come. They had studied its weaknesses, and now they were ready to exploit them. The Valkor descended into the atmosphere, its massive guns firing, destroying anything in its path. The Krithar believed that this would be the moment when Earth would finally be crushed. They had underestimated the warriors, however. As the Valkor entered Earth's airspace, Earth's fighters, led by the very best of the warriors who had once hidden underground, made their move. They struck from all directions, weaving through the explosions and fire. Their ships, designed for speed and precision, darted past the Valkor's defenses. The battle was fierce, but Earth's warriors fought with everything they had, determined to protect their planet from the final blow. With one final, coordinated strike, Earth's warriors disabled the Valkor, sending it plummeting back into the atmosphere in a blaze of fire and destruction. The Krithar, now realizing that they were losing, began to retreat. Their fleet, once so vast and powerful, was in disarray, scattered across the sky and unable to maintain its formation. Earth's warriors, with their superior tactics and unyielding will, had shattered the invaders' hopes of conquering the planet. The Krithar had come to Earth believing that victory was inevitable, but they had learned a painful lesson. Never underestimate the power of a planet and its people when they are united in the fight for their survival. With the Krithar forced to retreat, Earth's warriors stood victorious. The planet, once on the brink of destruction, had been saved. The Krithar Empire, shaken by their defeat, retreated to lick their wounds, knowing that Earth was not a world that could be easily conquered. Earth's warriors had shown the galaxy what true strength meant, and the message was clear. Earth would never surrender, and it would never be conquered. The invaders had believed that no one would come to Earth's aid, but they had been wrong. The warriors had come, and they had won. Earth was safe for now, and the planet's future was brighter than ever.